It is Indiana in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160. Bob Pollock is here from the Extension, and you can give him a call, 479-1160, 349-WCCS. It's 349-9227. If you have any questions about your plants, your lawns, your gardens, your flowers, those pretty flowers across the way at the church there, Bob, aren't those nice?
Yes, those are very nice daffodils.
Yeah, the Amish kids were going up through the yard yesterday, all along the woods. There are daffodils, and they were picking them, taking them home for bouquets for Mom and Dad. And so, yeah, it's that time of the year. Everything is starting to grow, finally.
And it's that's right. And it's a nice thing you can do with those daffodils.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy them outside as well as bring them in and enjoy them inside.
Yeah. So big issues for this time of the year with lawns and gardens and trees and all of those. So what are the things that people are asking you about most at the Extension office?
Just trying to get everything done.
Yeah, because it's such a brief schedule that you can actually get outside and work on stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it looks like we're getting a couple windows here, but it does make it a challenge to get a lot of that landscaping work done. And if you have somebody that comes in and does that for you, I'm sure they want to get there, but the weather can really foul you up with getting things done in a timely manner for all their clientele, and so it just things back up, and so it might take longer. But we still have time to do a lot of things. So if we need to transplant plants, we can get that done, but we need to get it done soon because a lot of things are really starting to take off and bud and leaf and flower, and once plants start to grow in the spring, then we usually have missed our time frame to transplant them. Yeah. Sometimes you can still get away with it. I know I've done it, but you do have to watch them. You have to make sure they get watered. You have to not cut too many roots off when you're doing that. So you take a greater risk at possibly losing that plant. But if it's your plant and you're doing it, and it's the only time you have to do it, then you just need to take extra precautions and know that you're at a greater risk for losing that plant once it leaves out and we get into spring and summer.
479-1160, 349-WCCS. That's 349-9227. If you have a question for Bob, please don't wait until the end of the segment because he needs time to answer it.
And I think oftentimes, too, when things are compressed a little bit, then we get in a hurry and we maybe work the soil too soon. The soil is still cool. Sometimes it's just better to just wait a little bit, let things dry out a little bit more, and then get to it. Be patient. And we'll still get it done. And if the soil's cold, the plants aren't going to really grow much anyhow. Yeah. So you're just better off waiting, as hard as that is to do. Sure. We can't always do it by that. What the calendar, it's April 15th, so we have to do this. Well, we're in the time frame, but we need to get the weather conditions right, too.
It's April 27th. I need to stop shoveling snow. Good morning. We've got a caller this morning with a question. Good morning to you.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good, and you?
I'm good. Hey, Bob, I wanted to ask you, does the Extension sponsor any tree sales any time of the year, or is that something you guys don't get into?
No, we have not gotten into that. There's enough other places around that do that we've never ventured into that deal as a fundraiser.
What kind of tree are you looking to buy?
Well, I lost a couple in the flood last year, and I want to replace them. We originally got them from the Audubon Society, but I don't have any. I guess I'll have to Google them on the website to get their number and try to order some more.
Well, there are some good places out there, so good luck.
Yep. All right, thank you.
And there's good nurseries around here. If you need younger stock or things like that, we've got a good selection of garden centers and nurseries around here to select from as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just keep that in mind, and hopefully they have the variety and the cultivar and what you're looking for.
479-1160, 349-WCCS. I wanted to ask you a question about length of the grass when you're mowing it for those initial mowings of the season. Whether you want to mow it at a different height maybe than you do later in the season.
Now, you can really start off at the same height that you want to be.
Okay.
And we're trying to mow it often enough, and in the spring that can be a challenge because, of course, our cool season grasses are putting on their most growth.
They're flexing their muscles right now.
Yes. This is when they really try to overachieve and put on the most growth. So then we have to adapt our schedule. It's not just once a week. It might be every 4 to 5 days that you need to do it, so that we don't remove more than a quarter to a third of that leaf surface at any one time.
Okay.
So that's where we get into the challenge of doing it often enough so that we don't get those gobs of grass spitting out in piles and overdoing it and getting down into where it might be a little yellower and trying to avoid that.
All right, let's get another caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. I wanted to know about my trumpet vine. It's really leggy, and the stalk that came up is very thick, and I was wondering if I could cut all these legs off of it. It's up on a trellis, and it's really needs trimmed.
Okay, so she's talking about a trumpet vine.
Yeah, so a lot of those vines, a lot of times can be pretty vigorous, and you can cut them back, trim them back, and especially if you're trying to maintain it in a certain size or certain area, you can go in and prune those back. And oftentimes they'll put out another cane or vine. Once you prune that back, there'll be a little bit of a stub there, but around that base of where you trim that, they'll probably sprout out again at some point. But yes, you can. Vines are usually pretty adaptable, that you can trim them, train them, move them around, pin them down, and get those limbs going out, the canes going out where you want them to, so they'll cover the area that you would like.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It is Indiana in the Morning, 479-1160, 349-WCCS. If you have a question for Bob, we're getting toward the end of the segment. You mentioned something a couple of moments ago when we were talking about the length of grass that you should mow at this time of the year. The big old clumps that come flying out of the mower. Just letting them sit there as big old clumps, you're just going to have a problem with big old dry clumps after that, aren't you? You've got to get that stuff off of there.
Yeah, and usually if the clumps are big enough, they'll sit there, and it'll take a while for that to break down or move around, and so you end up making a spot in the yard where the other grass isn't able to grow.
Yeah.
So sometimes you either need to bag it at that point if you can. So if you miss... you don't get in there often enough, it's better to maybe bag it for that one time so you get caught up and you don't have that. Or if you go over it again, just to break up those clumps and spread them out a little bit more, that can help as well.
That'll help too. Yeah. Okay, let's get another caller. Good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Well, you sound great. Getting me going this morning. Thanks.
Get out there before it rains later today.
What does that? I'm coming up from sunny South Florida, so totally different questions I would ask down there.
Yes.
Hey, I have inherited a house on 10 acres, and nature has taken over. I'd like to know a couple key things. What is the best way to get rid of poison ivy? We're talking like thick, muscly vines going up trees. Is it to saw it? Is it to bleach it? Give me some tips and tricks I'd appreciate.
Okay, yeah, when you have those heavy vines that are going up the trees, those can actually be cut.
Okay.
And then
a section of it? Like an inch section so it doesn't kind of reunite?
Yes. Yeah, cut it so it's clearly cut off and so that the rest of the vine that's going up the tree is severed off from its base. And then that base that's there, it's good to treat that. Then you can just spot treat that cut surface with one of the woody brush killers.
Woody brush killers, yep. Okay.
And that will then kill that.
Just right on the wound?
Yeah, right on the wound.
That sounds like something I should have on hand around here. That sounds like an incredible product. Woody brush killer?
Yes.
That can come in handy.
So, and if you read the label, there's all kind of plants on there, a lot of trees and saplings and seedlings and things that will control anything that's broadleafed.
So she applies that right to the wound where she cut it off.
Then you use it, and usually on those labels, it gives you a stump treatment, so it's more concentrated versus if you were just, and then poison ivy will vine out over the ground too, and so that you can,
tell me about it. Tell me about it.
So you can use the same thing diluted in water to spray that foliage.
So pulling it out. It does. I mean, if I can get it by the root, the majority of it should be gone. Correct?
Well, it'll probably come back if there are fragments there.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it.
After it's dead for years on these big trees, is it still? Can you get a rash from it? I suppose you can until it's come down, like all those little hairy things on it. Can still produce a rash.
Yeah, as long as there's oils in there, until that really gets dried down, and it's that oil that you get on that will cause the rash.
Okay, and what about like those jagger bushes, for lack of a better name? It's just can I do that brush kill thing, on the base of those as I cut them? Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Awesome.
So any of those, any of those viney or any of those plants that have spines on them and all that will work as well.
Okay, tell you what, I know you have more for Bob. We're out of time though, so Bob is going to answer.
Fantastic! Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Well, don't hang up. Don't hang up.
I don't want to.
Well, Bob is going to talk to you off the air. Okay.
Fantastic.
All right, there you go. It's Indiana in the Morning, 101.1 FM and AM 1160.